gonna be super glad that you clicked on this video today. When I was young, I used to love to read the Goosebumps books, and I still have a bunch of them, so they're very, very old. They're very well used and loved, and I thought it would be fun today to read from a few of my favorite stories and get my raw reaction, because it's been, so long since I've read them. And when you're a kid, you remember things a lot differently. So we'll see what I think about these books now. So, my first favorite book is The Headless Ghost. I remember getting this book in like 4th grade, and we would do like book points or something, and then if you reached your goal, you got to pick out a new book. And one of my classmates picked this book, and I was really disappointed because I wanted it. And later she came to me and wanted to trade books, and I was like, awesome, absolutely. And then the next favorite book is The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. I read this book so many times. I love it. Look at that. What's not to love about that? Okay, the other one is It Came From Beneath the Sink. So I tried to figure out why these were our favorite ones, and I think it's because these stories have an ending to them. If you read any of these Goosebumps books, a lot of them just give you cliffhangers. They just stop without really ending the story. And these ones have a pretty decent ending that you can walk away feeling good about it, that you actually kind of finished the story. So, let's get started with The Headless Ghost. So everyone knows about Hill House. It's the biggest tourist attraction in town. That's because it's haunted by the ghost of a 13-year-old boy, a boy with no head. Dwayne and Stephanie love Hill House. It's dark and creepy and totally scary. Still, they've never actually seen the ghost until the night they decide to go on a search for his head. So, if you guys like these stories, maybe we could continue with some more videos of actually reading like the whole book. I think I could read these as a kid in like 3 hours. They're pretty easy reads. So, let me delicately open this book because, like I said, these are old. Okay. Chapter 1. Stephanie, Albert, and I haunt our neighborhood. We got the idea last Halloween. There are a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and we like to haunt them and give them a little scare. Sometimes we sneak out late at night in masks and stare into kids' windows. I'm pretty sure the cops would get called on you now if you did that. Sometimes we leave rubber hands and rubber fingers on windowsills. Sometimes we hide disgusting things in mailboxes. Wow, yeah, I don't think you could get away with that kind of stuff now. Sometimes Stephanie and I duck down behind bushes or trees and make the most frightening sounds. Animal howls and ghostly moans. Stephanie can do a terrifying werewolf howl, and I can toss back my head and shriek loud enough to shake the leaves on the trees. We keep almost all the kids on our block pretty frightened. Yeah, I'd say so. Holy In the mornings, we catch them peeking out their doors, seeing if it's safe to come out. And at night, most of them are afraid to leave their houses alone. Stephanie and I are really proud of that. During the day, we are just Stephanie Albert and Dwayne Comack, 2 normal 12-year-olds. But at night, we become the twin terrors of Wheeler Falls. No one knows. No one. Look at us. And you see 2 6th graders at Wheeler Middle School. Both of us have brown eyes and brown hair. Both of us are tall and thin. Stephanie is a few inches taller because she has higher hair. That's funny. Some people see us hanging out together and think we're brother and sister, but we're not. We don't have any brothers and sisters, and we don't mind one bit. We live across the street from one another. We walk to school together in the morning. We usually trade lunches, even though our parents both pack us peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I want your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do you want my peanut butter and jelly sandwich? We're normal. Totally normal. Except for our secret late night hobby. How did we become the Twin Terrors? Well, it's sort of a long story. Last Halloween was a cool and clear night. Full moon floated over the bare trees. I was standing outside Stephanie's front window in my scary Grim Reaper costume. I stood up on tiptoes, trying to peek inside to check out her costume. "Hey, beat it, Dwayne. No looking," she shouted through the closed window. Then she pulled down the shade. "I wasn't looking, I was just stretching," I shouted back. Oh yeah. Sounds like a good excuse to me. I was eager to see what Stephanie was going to be. Every Halloween, she comes up with something awesome. The year before, she came waddling out inside a huge ball of green toilet paper. You guessed it, she was iceberg lettuce. Interesting. But this year, I thought maybe I had her beat. I'd worked really hard on my Grim Reaper costume. I wore high platform shoes, so high that I tower over Stephanie. My black hooded cape swung along the ground. I hid my curly brown hair under a tight rubber skull cap, and I smeared my face with sick-looking makeup, the color you see on moldy bread. My dad didn't want to look at me. He said I turned his stomach a success. I couldn't wait to make Stephanie sick. I banged my Grim Reaper sickle on Stephanie's window. "Hey, Steph, hurry up," I called. "I'm getting hungry. I want candy." I waited and waited. I started pacing back and forth across her front lawn, my long cape sweeping over the grass and dead leaves. "Hey, where are you?" I called again. No Stephanie. With an impatient groan, I turned back to the house, and a huge hairy animal jumped me from behind and chewed off my head. Chapter 2. Well, it didn't really chew off my head, but it tried to. It growled and tried to sink its gleaming fangs into my throat. I staggered back. The creature looked like an enormous black cat, covered in thick, black bristles. Gobs of yellow goo poured from its hairy ears and black nose. Its long, pointed fangs glowed in the dark. The creature snarled again and shot out a hairy paw. "Candy, give me all your candy." "Stephanie," I choked out. It was Stephanie, wasn't it? The creature jabbed its claws into my stomach in reply. That's when I recognized Stephanie's Mickey Mouse watch on its hairy wrist. I used to have a Mickey Mouse watch. I loved it. It had a red leather band. I think my grandpa got it for me. Oh, I wish I still had that. I loved it. "Wow, Stephanie, you look awesome. You really..." I didn't finish. Stephanie ducked behind the hedge and yanked me down beside her. My knees hit the sidewalk hard. "Oi, are you crazy?" I shrieked. "What's the big idea?" A group of little kids in costumes paraded by. Stephanie leapt out of the hedge. "Arr!" she growled. The little kids totally freaked. They turned and started to run. 3 of them dropped their trick-or-treat bags. Stephanie scooped up the bags. Yum. "Whoa, you really scared them," I said, watching the little kids run up the street. "That was cool." Stephanie started to laugh. She has a high, silly laugh that always starts me laughing, too. It sounds like a chicken being tickled. "That was kind of fun," she replied. "More fun than trick-or-treating." So we spent the rest of the night scaring kids. We didn't get much candy, but we had a great time. "I wish we could do this every night," I exclaimed as we walked home. "We can," Stephanie said, grinning. "It doesn't have to be Halloween to scare kids, Dwayne. Get my meaning?" I got her meaning. Who speaks like that anymore? She tossed back her bristly head and let out her chicken laugh, and I laughed too. And that's how Stephanie and I started haunting our neighborhood. Late at night, the Twin Terrors strike up and down our neighborhood. We're everywhere. Well, almost everywhere. There's one place in our neighborhood that even Stephanie and I are afraid of. It's an old stone house on the next block. It's called Hill House. I guess that's because it sits up on a high hill on Hill Street. Makes sense. I know. A lot of towns have a haunted house, but Hill House really is haunted. Stephanie and I know that for sure, because that's where we met the headless ghost. That is the end of chapter 2. So our next Goosebumps book. So camp is supposed to be fun, but Sarah hates Camp Cold Lake. The lake is gross and slimy, and she's having a little trouble with her bunkmates. They hate her. So Sarah comes up with a plan. She'll pretend to drown. Then everyone will feel sorry for her. But things don't go exactly the way Sarah planned, because down by the cold, dark lake, someone is watching her, stalking her. Someone with pale blue eyes and a see-through body. Okay, chapter 1. I got off to a bad start at Camp Cold Lake. I was nervous when I arrived, and I guess I did some dumb things. Well, I didn't want to go to a water sports camp. I don't like to be outdoors. I hate the feeling of grass brushing against my ankles. I don't even like to touch trees, and I certainly don't like getting wet. Sure, I like to go swimming once in a while, but not every day. What's the point of that? I like to swim in a nice clean pool. Hey, I can relate to that 100%. I would rather be in a swimming pool instead of like a lake in the mountain. Definitely. I took one look at the lake here, and I was sick. I knew there had to be horrible things swimming around in that water. Ugly creatures waiting below the surface, thinking to themselves, "Sarah, Maz, we're waiting for you. Sarah, we're going to rub our slimy bodies on your legs when you swim. We're going to chew off your toes, one by one." Yuck. Why do I have to swim in slime? Of course, Aaron was so excited, he nearly exploded. When we climbed off the camp bus, he was jumping up and down and talking a mile a minute. He was so crazed. I thought he was going to burst out of his clothes and go running into the lake. My brother likes camp. He likes sports and the outdoors. He likes just about everything and everyone. And everyone always likes Aaron. He's so enthusiastic. He's so much fun. Hey, I like to have fun too. But how can you have fun when there are no malls, no movie theaters, no restaurants to get a slice of pizza or a bag of french fries? How can you have fun up to your neck in freezing cold lake every day. In a camp miles away from any town, surrounded on all sides by thick woods. "This is going to be awesome," Aaron declared. Dragging his duffel bag, he hurried off to find his cabin. "Yeah, awesome," I muttered. The bright sun was already making me sweat. Do I like to sweat? Of course not. So why did I come to Camp Cold Lake? I can answer that in 3 words. Mom and Dad. They said that a water sports camp would give me confidence. They said it would help make me more comfortable with the outdoors. Of course, the logic is if you don't like something, expose yourself to it more and more. Yeah. And they said it would give me a chance to make new friends. That part I can agree with. Okay, I admit it. I don't make friends easily. I can relate to that too. I'm not like Aaron. I can't just walk up to someone and start talking and kidding around. Wow, I can really relate to Sarah. I'm a little shy. Maybe it's because I'm so much taller than everyone else. I'm a whole head taller than Aaron, and he's only a year younger than I am. He's 11. I'm tall and very skinny. Sometimes Dad calls me Grasshopper. Guess how much I like that? About as much as I like swimming in a cold lake filled with hidden creatures. Be a good sport about it, Sarah, Mom said. I rolled my eyes. Give camp a chance, Dad added. You might surprise yourself and have a good time. I rolled my eyes again. When you come home at the end of summer, you'll probably beg us to take you camping, Dad joked. I wanted to roll my eyes again, but they were getting tired from all that rolling. I gave my parents a glum sigh, quick hugs, then I followed Aaron onto the camp bus. He grinned the whole way to camp. He was really excited about learning how to water ski, and he kept asking everyone if the camp had a high diving board over the lake. Aaron made 3 or 4 good friends on the bus ride to camp. I stared out the window, watching the endless blur of trees and farms, thinking about my lucky friends who got to stay home and hang out at the mall. Then, here we were at Camp Cold Lake, kids pulling their bags off the bus, laughing and joking, counselors in dark green t-shirts greeting everyone, pointing them in the right direction. I began to cheer up a little bit. Maybe I will make some new friends. Maybe I'll meet some kids who are a lot like me, and we'll have a great summer. But then I stepped into my cabin. I saw my 3 bunkmates and looked around, and I let out a cry. Oh no, no way. Chapter 2. I guess I shouldn't have freaked like that. It made a very bad first impression, but what was I supposed to do? There were 2 bunk beds in the cabin. The 3 other girls had already chosen their beds. There was only 1 bed left, right in front of the window. And the window had no screens, which meant that my bed would be crawling with bugs. I took 1 glance, and I knew I'd be swatting mosquitoes every night for the whole summer. Yuck, that sounds terrible. Besides, I can't sleep in atop a bunk. I toss and turn a lot at night. If I slept on top, I'd fall on my head. I had to sleep on the bottom, in the bed against the far wall away from the open window. I can't do this, I blurted out. My 3 bunkmates turned to look at me. One had blonde hair, pulled back in a ponytail. Near her was a short, chubby girl with long brown hair. In the bottom bunk against the wall, an African-American girl with long cornrows stared across the cabin at me. I guess they wanted to say hi and introduce themselves, but I didn't give them a chance. Someone has to trade beds with me, I cried. I didn't mean to sound so shrill, but I was really upset. Before they could answer, the cabin door swung open. A sandy-haired young guy in a dark green camp t-shirt poked his head in. I'm Richard, he said. I'm the boss guy, the head dude. Everything okay in here? No, couldn't stop myself. I was just so nervous and unhappy. I can't sleep in this bunk, I told him. I don't want to be near the window, and I need to sleep on the bottom. I could see that the other girls were shocked by my outburst. Richard turned to the girl who was sitting on the bottom bunk against the wall. Brianna, would you trade beds with Sarah? I told him. Would you trade bunks with Sarah? Richard asked Brianna. She shook her head so hard the beads in her cornrows rattled against each other. I really don't want to, she said softly. She pointed to the chubby girl with long brown hair who sat on a camp trunk. Meg and I were bunkmates last year, Brianna told Richard, and we kind of wanted to be together. Meg nodded. She had a round baby face, squirrel cheeks out to here, and she wore blue and red braces on her teeth. I can't sleep in front of the window, I insisted. I really can't. I hate bugs. Richard stared hard at Brianna. How about it? Brianna groaned. Oh, all right. She made a face at me. Thanks, Richard said. I could see he was studying me. He probably thinks I'm a real troublemaker, I thought. Brianna climbed off the bottom bunk. She dragged her duffel bag across the room to the bunk by the window. It's all yours, she muttered. She didn't say it in a friendly way. I felt bad. My bunk mates hate me already, I thought. Why do I always do that? Why do I always get nervous and start off on the wrong foot with people? Now I've got to try really hard to make them my friends, I decided. But a minute later, I did something horrible. And that is the end of chapter 2. One more teaser book. So let me know if you've read any of these books, because then you'll have fun knowing how they end, as I tease you with the beginning. So this one says their luck's about to go down the drain. Kat and her brother Daniel are so lucky. They just moved to a new house with tons of rooms, 2 balconies, and a lawn the size of a football field. Wow, that sounds really exciting. But all that good luck is about to run out, because there's something really evil living in their new house. Something that's moving, watching, waiting. Something that comes from beneath the kitchen sink. You guys can have fun in the comments, filling in the rest of that sentence of what's beneath the kitchen sink. Feel free, go for it. Okay. Chapter 1. Before my brother and I found the strange little creature under the sink, we were a normal, happy family. In fact, I'd have to say we were very lucky. But our luck quickly changed when we pulled the creature from its dark hiding space. The sad, frightening story begins on the day we moved. Here we are, kids. Dad honked the horn happily as we rounded the corner onto Maple Lane and pulled up in front of our new house. Ready for the big move, kitty cat. My dad is the only one who can get away with calling me kitty cat. My real name is Katrina. Merton. But only the teachers call me Katrina. To everyone else, I'm simply Cat. Definitely, Dad, I shouted. I jumped out of the station wagon. We had a station wagon growing up, too. I always rode in the back of it. On vacations. Or anywhere. That's kind of embarrassing. Ralph, Ralph. Killer, our Cocker Spaniel, barked in agreement and followed me out onto the sidewalk. Daniel, my goofy little brother, is the one who named the dog. What a dumb name. Killer is afraid of everything. The only thing he kills is his rubber ball. Daniel and I had biked past that new house plenty of times already. It's only 3 blocks away from where we used to live on East Main. But I still couldn't believe we'd be living here. I mean, I always thought our old house was pretty great, but this place is awesome. 3 stories high, sitting up on its own little hill. With butter yellow shutters and at least a dozen windows. A wide porch wraps around the whole house. The front yard must be about the size of a football field. It's not a house, it's a mansion. Wow, that sounds... I would be so excited as a kid to be moving to a house like that. Like to have my own room. That would have been really amazing. Well, practically a mansion. Enormous, but not exactly fancy. What Mom calls a comfortable old shoe kind of house. Actually, today it really looked messy and old. A few of the shutters hung crookedly, the grass needed mowing, and the whole place seemed to be covered with an inch of dust. But as Mom said, nothing that can't be taken care of with a good cleaning and a coat of paint and a few bangs with the hammer. Mom, Dad, and Daniel climbed out of the car. We all stood staring excitedly at the house. Today I'd finally get to see the inside. Mom pointed to the 2nd floor. See that big balcony? She asked. That's the room where your father and I will sleep. The next room over is Daniel's. She gave my hand a little squeeze. The little balcony, that's outside your room, Cat. She beamed. My very own private porch. Dang, that would be nice. I leaned over and gave Mom a big hug. I love it already, I whispered into her ear. Naturally, Daniel started whining immediately. He's 10 years old, but most of the time he acts as if he's about to. How come Cat's room has a balcony and mine doesn't? He complained. It's not fair. I want a balcony too. Get a life, Daniel, I muttered. Mom, tell him to be quiet. Don't I get something for being 2 years older? Sounds fair. Well, almost 2 years older. My birthday was in 4 days. Quiet, kids, Mom ordered. Daniel, you don't have a balcony, but you are getting something neat too. Bunk beds. So Carlo can sleep over whenever you want. Excellent, Daniel shouted. Carlo is Daniel's best friend. They're always together and always bugging me. Daniel is okay most of the time, but he insists on being right. Dad calls him Mr. Know-It-All. And sometimes Dad calls Daniel the human tornado because he runs around like a whirlwind and makes unbelievable messes. I'm a lot more like my dad, sort of calm and quiet. Well, usually calm, and we both have the same favorite foods. Lasagna, really sour garlic pickles, and mocha chip ice cream. I even look like my father, tall and thin with a lot of freckles and reddish hair. I usually wear my hair in a ponytail. Dad doesn't have much hair to worry about. Daniel looks more like my mother. Straight, light brown hair that's always falling in his eyes, and what Mom calls a sturdy build. That means he's chunky. Today, Daniel was definitely in human tornado mode. He ran up onto the big green lawn and began spinning around in a circle. It's huge, he shouted. It's gigantic. It's super house. He collapsed in a heap on the grass. And this is the super yard. Hey, Cat, look at me. I'm Super Daniel. You're super dumb, I told him, messing up his hair with both hands. Hey, quit it, Daniel yelled. He pulled out his super soaker gun and squirted the front of my t-shirt. You're captured, he announced. You are my prisoner. I don't think so, I replied, tugging on the water pistol. Give up the gun, I commanded. I pulled harder. Let go. Okay, Daniel grinned. He loosened his grip so suddenly that I staggered backwards and fell onto the sidewalk. What a klutz, Daniel snickered. I knew how to get him. I zoomed up the porch steps. Hey, Daniel, I called. I'm going to be the first stop goofing around. Mom and I really need your help today. That's why we allowed you to miss a school day, he called. Daniel, walk Killer and make sure he has food and water. Cat, keep an eye on Daniel. And Cat, clean the inside of the kitchen cabinets. Okay, Dad added. Mom wants to start putting the dishes and pots away. Sure, Dad, I answered. I saw Daniel rummaging through a box on the lawn. The box was marked cards and comics. Hey, where's the dog? I yelled at him. He shrugged. Daniel, I frowned. I don't see Killer anywhere. Where is he? He dropped a stack of baseball cards. Okay, I'll go find him, he mumbled. He stood up and made his way to the driveway, calling the dog's name. As soon as he disappeared around the side of the house, I hurried to the box marked cards and comics and checked through it. Sure enough, the little brat had stolen some of my comics. I tucked them under my arm and walked inside to the kitchen to clean out the cabinets. One quick glance made me groan. Cabinets filled just about every square inch of the big, bright room. Sighing, I yanked paper towels and a bottle of cleaner out of the cleaning supplies box and started scrubbing. Spritz, rub. This could take hours. After I finished a cabinet, I stepped back to admire my work. Then I knelt down in front of the cabinet under the sink, but something, a squeaky noise, like the sound of a footstep on an old wooden stair, made me stop short. What is that? I wondered, my heart beating faster. I slowly opened the cabinet and tried to peek inside. I opened it a little wider. I heard the noise again. My heart was pounding now. I opened the cabinet door another inch, and then it grabbed me. Dark, hairy claw. It wouldn't let go. I screamed. Chapter 2. Daniel, you scared me to death, I screamed. I pounded him on the back. Laughing his head off, my brother yanked off the stupid rat costume he insisted on packing. You should have seen your face, he cried. Know what? I'm going to start calling you Scaredy Cat. Ha ha, very funny, I replied, rolling my eyes. Did I mention that Daniel also thinks he's thinking of practical jokes? I suddenly remembered what my brother was supposed to be doing. Dad asked you to find Killer. Where is he? I didn't have to find him, Daniel snickered. He was never lost. What do you mean? I demanded. I stuck a Killer in the basement, he said proudly. While you were hanging around on the porch, I ran in through the side door and hid under the sink. You really are a big rat, I exclaimed. I heard a funny tap-tapping on the linoleum floor. What's that noise? I asked. Daniel's mouth dropped open. Oh no, it's a real rat, he shrieked. Cat, look out, move. Without thinking, I jumped onto the kitchen chair as Killer came trotting into the kitchen. Daniel let out a high-pitched laugh, twice on the same trick. He was very pleased with himself. I dove at my brother, ready to tickle him. Prepare to die laughing, I yelled. Stop! Help! No, he gulped. Cat, please, stop, please. I can't take it. Give up, I asked. Daniel nodded yes. He half gasped, half laughed. All right, I say generously. You can get up now. Thanks, he said. Hey, what's Killer doing over there? No way, I'm not falling for another one of your tricks, I declared. But when I glanced over, the Cocker Spaniel did seem very interested in something inside the sink cabinet I left open. He pulled it out, then sniffed, pushed it with his nose, and gave it a head-tossing growl. That's weird, I thought. Killer never growls. What do you have there, boy? I called to him. The dog didn't even look up. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Growl. I leaned in for a closer view. What is it, Cat? Daniel asked. Nothing much, I answered casually. Just an old sponge, I think. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Growl. It seemed perfectly ordinary. Small, round, and light brown. A little bigger than an egg. But the sponge had Killer all excited and nervous. The dog danced around it, barking and growling. I snatched the sponge from him to get a better look, and my sweet dog tried to bite me. Killer, I yelled, bad boy. He slunk to a corner, and with an embarrassed howl, he lay his head down sadly on his paws. I held the sponge up close to my face to study it better. Whoa! Wait a minute. I suddenly understood Killer's strange behavior. Daniel, check it out, I exclaimed. Wow, I don't believe